Hi there, folk. In this short little segment that we have together, we're going to look at how one can represent graphs or represent data using a pie chart. Now, what's a pie chart? Let's not waste time. Let's read about it. So, a pie chart or pie charts are circular graphs divided into sectors. They are used to show the parts that make up a whole. They can be useful for comparing the size of relative parts. Remember, up to this stage, we've looked at bar graphs, and bar graphs are graphs that are all vertical lines or vertical bars going up. Now we're looking at a graph that's circular in shape, and instead of having bars, it's got little sectors. Let's have a look over here and see what we mean. The pie chart below shows a survey of the different types of favorite fruit juice flavors that are normally bought by a group of 120 learners from a specific high school during lunchtime. Notice our circular little graph. No longer bars, now circular. And the thing I love about a pie chart is straight away we can see how much one thing takes up of the whole. For example, we can see that this color, this light gray shade here, takes up quite a bit of the whole. So whatever this is, it's really popular amongst kids. It takes up a big area. What is this? Well, now we have a key, and our key actually tells us that if we look at this color here represents 45%. So 45% of our students love fruit cocktail juice. Okay? No longer bars, now circular. So let's read questions. Calculate how many learners chose each type of juice. Let's have a look. How many learners do we have? We've got 120 learners. Of those 120, we know 45% love fruit cocktail. So 45%, and guys, 45%, 100, hey? First thing that jumps to mind. So 45 over 100 multiplied by the 120. So I'm going to say I've got 45%, multiply that by my 120, and I get an answer of 54. In other words, 54 students love fruit cocktail juice. Now, let's work out what is 12.5%. So 12,5 over 100, because we're dealing in percent, times 120. Out comes the calculator, and we say, right, Mr. Calculator, 12.5 over 100, because we're dealing in percent, multiply that by 120 learners, and I land up with 15. 15 what? 15 learners. So 15 learners love our lychee juice, and 15 learners love grape juice. How do we know that? Because they're both 12.5%. Now let's look at this 30%. How many people like apple juice? Well, 30%, we got 30 over 100, and again we're multiplying it by 120 because there's a total of 120 students. My calculator is going to do the work for me, and it's going to say, right, we want 30% of 120 learners, and I land up with 36. So there are 36 learners who love apple juice. Now, here's a way I can check whether my answers are correct. If I take these numbers of, let's just circle it here, 54 learners, 15 learners, 15 learners, 36 learners, it should add up to the 120 learners. If it doesn't, I've made a mistake, because you will see in this pie chart, there's no little sector that's got nothing in. This pie chart is complete. It's complete with fruit cocktail, lychee juice, grape juice, and apple juice. There's no little sector that says nothing, okay? Everything. So all these sectors have to add to 120 learners. Let's see if that is correct. So adding up, we're going to say I have 15 and I have another 15 learners. And then I have 36 learners and finally 54 learners, and voila, my answer is 120, which is a good thing because I started with 120 learners. Next question says, in what way does the pie chart work better than a bar graph to represent this data? So what is the advantage of a pie chart? Well, a pie chart tells us exactly what percentage of learners like the juice. Whereas if I had a bar graph, I would know the number of learners, but not the percentage of learners. And one of the advantages of having a bar graph is it gives me the numbers, where you can see in the pie chart I had to work out those numbers. So all types of graphs have their advantages and have their disadvantages. Okay, moving on. Next question says this: what information would a bar graph give you then this pie chart doesn't? And we've done that. We've said already it's to do with the percentages. Here's another example, which is great. A recent survey looked at households in 2 income groups. The study determined what percentage of monthly income was spent on food, what was spent on housing, and what was spent on other requirements. The pie charts below represent the findings of the study. So let's have a look here. We got 2 pie charts. First one, spending by a household in group 1, where their average monthly income is 3,000 Rand a month. Next one, the spending of a household in this group, where the average monthly income is now 20,000 Rand per month. So we've taken a group of people and we said, right, let's take this group. We're going to look at those that average 3,000 Rand a month and another group that averages 20,000 Rand a month and see how they spend their money. So if you look at this, you can see that this household that earns an average of 3,000, they spend 55% of their salary goes to food. Whereas these people that earn 20,000, only 14% of their salary goes to food. 20% here goes to other little things. When they earn 3,000, when they earn 20,000, other sort of requirements, they spend 46% of their money on those other little requirements. Okay. Now, the 2 essentials are our food and our housing. Okay. The other is all the other little bits and pieces. Take note, the more people earn, the more they spend on other things. Right. Let's work out, or let's have a look at the type of questions and then try and work out the answers. What were the average monthly incomes of the groups considered? Well, we've already said that. One was 3,000 a month and the other was 20,000 Rand a month. Okay. What percentage of groups 1's earning was spent on housing? Okay, so let's go. Group 1. They said that they've got on housing, we've got to work it out. Now we know this is 55% and this is 20%. That makes 75%. If that is 75%, then this must be 25%. Why? Because percentages add up to 100. And if I say 100 minus 55 minus 20, I'm going to be left with 25. So 25% of these people's income is spent on housing. All right, that was nice and easy to do, wasn't it? Next question. How much was spent on housing by a household in group 2? So let's have a look here. Here's our second group and how much was spent on housing. It says 40% was spent on housing and 40% of what? Of the 20,000 Rand. So we're going to say, right, 40 over 100, because we're dealing with percent, multiplied by 20,000. Let's have a look here quickly. We're saying, right, so we've got 40%, so it's 40 over 100. Then we're going to multiply that by 20,000. And we land up with an answer of 8,000. So they spend 8,000 Rand a month on housing. Okay. Which group spent the larger amount of money on food? Justify your answer by calculations. Okay, so let's have a look at the food. We're going to look at this group. This group, they spend 55% on food. And 55% of what? 55% of their salary of 3,000 Rand. So we're going to say, Mr. Calculator, we need your help. We want 55% of 3,000 Rands. And we get an answer of 1,650 Rand. Okay. Now this household only spends 14% of their salary on food, but they've got a bigger salary. It's 20,000. So now we're going to try and calculate 14% or 14 over 100, and we're going to multiply that then, let's just go back. We're going to multiply that then by 20,000. Okay, and our answer is 2,800 Rand. Whoa, folk, let's look at this. Although this is a smaller percentage, 14%, and this is 55%, the amount is a lot bigger. Why? Because that 14% is based on the 20,000, whereas this 55% is based only on 3,000 Rand. Okay, interesting stuff, eh? We can just get this information from our graphs. Let's have a look at this. The graph below shows the various weight categories of men aged from 25 to 54 years of age in America, a country with a population of 318,900,000. Okay, so there is our bar graph, and our pie chart, and it shows quite clearly that 35% of men aged between 25 and 54 are obese, and 25% are of normal weight, and 39% are overweight. So it's quite a lot who are overweight and obese, whereas when you look at the normal weight, not that many. In fact, you can see it just makes up a small segment or a quarter of a segment. Right, what sort of questions are they asking us? First of all, what type of graph is shown? Pie chart, you know that. It looks like a pie, it's round. Next one, show that more than 235 million men are not at a normal weight. Now, how many were not at a normal weight? Let's go and have a look. Normal weight is 25%, which means there should be 75% left over. Now, I want to bring something to your attention. Do you agree that this should all add up to 100%? Because percentages add to 100. Now, I'm going to show you something interesting, and it's not a question, but it could well be a question in a final exam. 35% plus 25% plus 39%, and it gives you 99%, not 100%. Why, people? I'll tell you. Because these percentages are obviously rounded. They probably rounded down a bit or rounded up a bit. Okay, some are rounded down, some rounded up. In this case, they've probably all or most of them have been rounded down because we've landed up with a 99% and not 100% as we'd hope. So the 35 could have been 35,4, it could have been 25,4, and it could have been 39,2. When you add those up now, you're going to get 100%. But you will see these figures are whole numbers. In other words, they said, hey, 35,4, that's 35 rounded. 25,4 is 25 rounded. 39,2, that's 39 rounded, and this 442 would have made another percent, which would have taken it to 99. That's a deep question, hey? Full of understanding that. But it can come up in the exam paper. In fact, I've seen similar questions where it will say, how come this doesn't add to that? Because there's been rounding involved. Okay, now our question is this: how many men are not of normal weight? Well, now this, your examiner would have to accept two answers. One, you could say, well, 100% makes up a pi minus the 25% means there's 75% that are not of normal weight. Or if you'd added those two up, you could have got 35% plus the 39%, and you would have got 74%. So the examiners would have to accept both answers here, all right? Because it still shows understanding. But now, let's work with the 75%. Why? Just because I want to. So 75% is 75 over 100 multiplied by how many men? We're going to say 300, and they have said population, and remember we are looking just as men, so the question is a little bit flawed, but 318,900,000. 318,900,000. Okay, we multiply that. Let's see what our calculator gives us for this. 75%, 100, multiplied by 318,900,000 equals, voila, huge number, 239,175,000. Let's write that down. 239 million, and then it was 175,000. 175,000. The question said, show that more than 235 million men are not at normal weight. So it's got to be more than 235 million. Are we more than 235 million? Indeed, we are. Okay, case closed. Everything's proved. Right, then we look at another question. If you were to draw the graph, show that the angle of overweight people would be 126 degrees. Lovely question, this folk, and even though we're running short of time, I've just got to do it with you because it's so important. Okay, so how many people are overweight? If we go back, we can see that overweight people is 39%. So let's say, all right, so I've got 39%. And 39% is 39 over 100. I want to know how many degrees is that. So 39% of 360 degrees. And folk, there are 360 degrees in a circle. So I'm trying to find 39% of that 360. So let's do it. 39%, 39 of 100. Okay. Multiplied by 360 degrees equals, and we get an answer of 140,4 degrees. 140,4 degrees. So folk, if I was drawing this angle here, I'd make 100, and let's use a different color so we can see it even clearer. I would make this 140,4 degrees if I had to draw it. Okay. Normally, for pie charts, we don't ask you to draw it because it can take quite a while. Okay, so in summary, in this segment, we've covered the following. We have completed examples using pie charts. And remember, pie charts, folk, are charts or ways of showing data with a circular kind of graph, as it were, okay? So we're not dealing with bars, but circular. We're going to take a break, and I'll chat to you soon.